From Gaza to the Eastern Cape, through courtrooms, commissions and the G20, 2025 delivered widespread conflict, accountability or lack thereof, catastrophe and brief relief on the sports field.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent.
We heard several damning allegations come out during the course of the 3 months that the Commission has been sitting. I think one of the main things is coming out from Dumisani Khumalo, the head of crime intelligence. He brought to the fore and showed us and told us about this Big Five cartel, a cartel which is operating in the country. He claims it's the only criminal cartel to be operating in the country, and he also spoke to length about made several damning allegations about senior police officials who were allegedly working with members of the Big Five cartel. And just to name two of them was that of the Deputy National Police Commissioner Shadrack Sibiya, as well as the head of organized crime in the country, Richard Shibiri. We also heard from Fani Masimola speaking to length about this instruction and who gave the instruction, and he was given the instruction by Senzo Meyiwa to disband the unit, and how he didn't act upon that instruction because he didn't feel it followed the correct channels and protocols for the political killings task team to be disbanded. We moved on a little bit away from the core issues surrounding SAPS and a little bit more into a Metro Police Department when we heard about Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department, EMPD. And I think this is a really fundamental point of the allegations where they stem from about the rot within the criminal justice system, specifically within Gauteng, because the allegations about EMPD relate to Vusi Cat Matlala having captured EMPD in being allowed to use blue lights in his private security vehicles to essentially move around the province and remain out of bounds of the law. He was able to evade the law given that he was allowed to use blue lights. Those are at least the allegations that have been furnished to the Commission, in that Vusi Cat Matlala had entered into this unlawful contract with EMPD, and the then Director of Specialized Services, Julius Mkhonazi, had fraudulently approved or signed off on this MOU between Vusi Cat Matlala and EMPD, which was fundamentally flawed and was essentially unlawful. Probably the most outlandish claims and allegations to come out of the Commission this year so far, that KZN Provincial Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhonazi works for the CIA, but not only him, the Zulu King as well. Mrs. Zulu Kwazwelithini. He claims they're working for the CIA in America and have been working for the CIA for a long time. Those allegations obviously not substantiated or corroborated by any sort of proof. And I think the one thing that was flawed with Brown Mokhotzi's testimony is that he didn't provide that much proof in terms of the allegations that he was putting out there. For Eyewitness News, I'm Aaron Singh.
Mkhwanazi, during his lengthy submission, also touched on the PKTT and the 121 case dockets that were allegedly moved from Durban to Pretoria by the likes of Shadrack Sibiya. But Sibiya denied these allegations during his appearance before the committee. Sibiya appeared after Mkhwanazi, where he also defended the decision by Senzo Meyiwa to disband the PKTT, saying that the PKTT was spending money irregularly and also should have benefited the entire country and should have been absorbed into serious and violent crime. Now, Minister Senzo Meyiwa, who is one of the main witnesses before the hearings and the ad hoc committee, appeared shortly after Sibiya, where he also defended his decision and his directive on New Year's Eve last year, saying that it was a political decision and he was empowered by the Constitution to take that decision to disband the political killings task team. He also tried to justify his decision to disband the PKTT without informing senior police officials like Fani Masimola, the National Police Commissioner, as well as Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, the KZN Police Commissioner, and the head of crime intelligence, Dumisani Khumalo, who is the project manager for the PKTT. Following the conclusion of Vusi Cat Matlala's evidence at the Hoshimambura Correctional Facility in Pretoria, the committee will look at further witnesses like the likes of Robert McBride, the former head of IPID, as well as Paul O'Sullivan, forensic investigator who was accused of interfering in police operations by both members of the committee and also by certain witnesses who gave evidence before the committee. The committee will then move to conclude its business by the end of February and is expected to maybe call again further witnesses like Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, the first witness, to come further substantiate some of the submissions made by people that he implicated in his evidence in chief. Babalo Ndenze, Eyewitness News in Parliament.
It's been more than 3 years since the Senzo Meyiwa trial first entered the High Court for trial. In 2025, the matter's still not wrapped up. It's been another year of drama and twists and turns. This year, after 2 years since the trial was forced to restart from scratch, and more than 50 witnesses later, the state finally closed its case. This is after hearing testimony from some people who were in the house when Meyiwa was killed, police officers who processed the scene and conducted ballistic testing, and witnesses who linked the 5 accused to the murder. But then it was the defence's turn to open its case. So far, the defense has called 3 witnesses, including Absalom Zungu, the father of the state's key witness, Constable Sizwe Zungu. According to the state, Zungu Sr. made a statement that led to their breakthrough and would ultimately lead to the arrests of the 5 accused. But during his testimony, he distanced himself from the statement, attributing it to the investigating officer, Brigadier Bongani Kinenda, saying it's full of criminality. He claims the police told him what to say. And if that was not enough to have your eyebrows raised, police confirmed that they're investigating a case of conspiracy to commit murder. It was established that on one of the days in December, police learned that a group of men attending proceedings in the Pretoria High Court were planning to assassinate key figures in the trial, including Judge Ratha Mokgoatlheng and the prosecutors. When the matter resumes next year, the defense is expected to continue with its case. But before then, the court must make a ruling on whether the state can cross-examine Gwabini Zungu, a key defense witness, on a statement that he's also denied making. Khomzo Modise, Eyewitness News.
So the best way to describe South Africa's relationship with the US at the moment really is fractious and volatile. And this is even despite South Africa's best efforts. The relationship is ending the year off, quite frankly, the same way it started out when President Cyril Ramaphosa and his delegation went to Washington with the sole purpose of resetting the bilateral ties. But it became quite evident, and you'll remember this from the images from the White House, when President Donald Trump pulled out his projector and dimmed the lights, that the two countries really weren't on the same page and were barely singing from the same hymn book. Fast track to where we are now. The US is still running the false narrative of a white genocide in South Africa. We haven't secured a better deal or a trade deal, and AGOA is still on the line. It expired in September. We may very well be excluded from the 1 year or 2 year extension. And we've actually even been closed out of the G20 talks under the US presidency. There was the first meeting in December. We weren't part of it. But we did manage to secure a leaders' declaration under the South African presidency at the G20 Leaders Summit, which was hosted in Joburg. And in the process, really more than anything, positioned ourselves as credible and reliable on the global stage. We're, of course, taking a short break, as some may call it, from the G20 this coming year during the US presidency. But overall, how a lot of experts have described the year for South Africa and the ties with the US is a good diplomatic exercise. What happens in the next year and how much more pressure US President Donald Trump can apply on South Africa is yet to be seen. Nogukhanya Mtambo, Eyewitness News.
If I'm right, what happens? And if I'm right?
I'll give you a cow.
Oh my God! I want my cow. Because I know you want me.
Tsidi was the jewel in EWN's crown. She was a powerhouse. She was brave. She was the consummate professional who worked tirelessly in pursuit of the truth. She led by example, mentoring and training many young political journalists. She formed a formidable politics team, which she was so proud of, and delivered one exclusive after the next with absolute humility and professionalism. She constantly raised the bar for herself, juggling reporting and her editor responsibilities daily. Laughter and robust debates would always surround Tsidi. Outside of her public persona, Tsidi was fiercely loyal to her family and friends. Her no-holds-barred approach seeped into every aspect of her life. She worked hard and loved even harder. The sun shines differently without you today, Matsuriso. Our thoughts, prayers, and supports are with Tili's father, her siblings, her nephews and nieces, aunts and uncles, cousins, and broader family.
2025 was a monumental year for South African sport. Bafana Bafana completed their first successful qualifying campaign in 24 years and will play at the FIFA World Cup for the first time since the country hosted the event in 2010. They've been drawn in Group A, where they'll play the co-host Mexico in the opening game of the tournament, as well as South Korea and a European nation that will be determined after the UEFA playoffs in March. As for Pirates, they won the MTN 8 and Carling Knockout trophies, while Mamelodi Sundowns continued their domination in the Premiership with their 8th successive title. The Springboks finished the year as the top-ranked side in the world. They won 12 of 14 test matches, which included a record victory over New Zealand in September. In the same month, the Springbok women showed the remarkable strides they've made in the last 4 years as they advanced to the playoffs of their World Cup for the first time. And the junior Springboks ended a 13-year wait for a World Championship title with a 2-point victory over New Zealand in July. The team won their first ICC title since 1998 in June. They beat arch rivals Australia by 5 wickets in the World Test Championship final at Lord's in London. The SA women's cricket team made it to their first 50-over World Cup final in India in October, but they fell short, losing to the hosts by 52 runs in that match. Elsewhere, Tete Dijana and Gerda Steyn won the men's and women's Comrades Marathons respectively. 19-year-old Saud Variava. For Eyewitness News, I'm Mawande Mateza.
In Gaza, more than 70,000 people have been killed since October the 7th, 2023, with at least 80% of them civilians. A ceasefire has failed to hold, aid remains restricted, and Israel has also widened strikes into Syria and Lebanon, increasing the risk of further escalation. Closer to home, flooding in the Eastern Cape killed more than 40 people this year and damaged or destroyed at least 3,000 homes. Entire communities were displaced and recovery is still ongoing. 2025 closes with more questions than answers, but we'll see you fit and well in 2026.
In touch, in tune, and independent.